obviously we're very pleased with the Attorney General's pronouncement on March 18th, and then also on March 18th and earlier than that. And obviously very pleased about Obama's stated policy on this in early February. He's through spokesman. So we asked basically that the DEA not raid any clinics in California or collectives in California unless and until they receive word from the state government or the state regulators or the local municipal government that state law has indeed been violated. Because the state and local people are much more well equipped to figure out what constitutes a violation of state law than the federal government agents are anyway. Additionally, we work on the asset forfeiture threat letters that the dispensaries have received in California. We also work on the Matthew and Hearst research that I testified to the committee about that. I work with Rick on strategizing, figuring out how to get the messages to the Obama administration, to the Justice Department, et cetera, et cetera. He's got very capable people on his team, but I help with the political aspect of that, where other people will help with the legal aspect of it. And I also work to wipe out those stupid ads that they run, you know, the one that says that you're going to get AIDS if you ever smoke marijuana, or whatever they say, you get pregnant, and you're going to, you know,
babies.
You're going to get your fist stuck in your mouth, you know, all this stuff. So we try to wipe that out. We try to wipe out that ad campaign. And that's a good amount of it. That takes up a large portion of time. Sorry.
I saw a really funny comedy argument they use for how to convince people in the Bible Belt that are really against marijuana legalization, how to really get them behind it. And all you really have to say is that smoking marijuana keeps you from becoming a homosexual, because that's the only thing that they're more afraid of than marijuana. So if they think it's going to keep their kids from going that way, that they'll do it and do a skit for it. It was really funny actually, because they said that if you did that and they got behind you, within a year, marijuana would be legal in this country.
I don't think that's true.
Well, it was a joke, but I mean, yeah, it was really funny to watch. But
I was in Mississippi for a few years. I heard the opposite of that several times. So I think it'd be pretty hard to.
I mean, it was a joke, but it was really funny to see.
Right.
One of the reasons.
That's what they would say. That's what the bad guys would say.
It'd have to be a double-blind study.
Yeah, that's right. Sure.
How do you feel about the Obama administration essentially contradicting their stance on this movement by saying no raids, no more federal resources against, no more DEA raids, and then, a couple weeks ago, Obama coming out and essentially laughing at all people asking about this movement? How do you think that helps or hurts the movement?
Well, it helps in the sense that anytime they talk about the issue, it increases the attention to the subject. It increases our subscribership. More people get pissed off when they log onto our website, the EPA's website, Normal's website, and they say, I'm pissed off about this, I'm going to get involved. It obviously hurts to the extent that he didn't say the right thing. And moreover, as Scott very rightly pointed out, Gibbs, when he came to the press conference on this issue, there was not only the Obama statement on this at the actual online town hall meeting. There was also a follow-up to it, actually a series of follow-ups in the Gibbs press conference. And the reporters were grilling him. They said, why did he say this? He didn't give any good reasons. What is he talking about? And they just didn't expect that. They're not thinking in these terms. They're not thinking, this was such a big issue. They're thinking this is a bunch of stoners, let's blame it on a couple of interest groups that drove a bunch of people to the site. They're not thinking about this in the terms that we are. We're seeing the tipping point right in front of us. What they see at is, the same mold that we've all operated in for so many years. They see the same political framing, the same paradigm as we've all had, which is why Gibbs, when he came to that press conference, did not have a statement on it. He didn't have anything prepared. They started asking him about it, as Scott was saying the other day. They asked him about it, and he didn't have a response. He's like, oh, well, I think they were driving people to our website, which is bullshit, by the way. We were not driving people to the Open for Questions website. That is a complete falsehood. I think normal scholars. I think Normal may have sent one alert about it. They had one blog post. I don't even know if they actually did have a alert about it. I know they had a blog post about it. But the point is, even as many, Scott's got more readers than both of us combined, but even with as many readers as he has, there's no way that that's going to top a list when you got MoveOn sending out alerts there, people saying vote on this these one or two things, right? And there's no way. So they're just not, they don't have, they're still evolving in their thinking about this. They're trying to figure out how to deal with this. Now on the raids issue, it's a more complicated legal subject because the last president we had got himself into trouble, and rightly so, for interfering in the affairs of the Justice Department. The Justice Department is a unique cabinet agency in our government. In our system of government, the Justice Department is supposed to be the crown jewel of the whole federal government. That is the institution that is beyond reproach, that's beyond politics. This is the ideal, obviously. That doesn't get involved in politics, and obviously we know different. But that's a touchy issue because when you're talking about federal law enforcement agents actually pursuing violations of criminal law, which they are charged with doing, it's a very, very complicated calculus to say to the president, you have to tell these people to stop. So it's extraordinarily complicated. The basic fact is that Michelle Leonhardt is still the administrator of the DEA. We still have a Bushy at the head of the DEA. We're doing our best to embarrass her, to make her look silly. I'm going to make her famous in a Capitol Hill publication next week because she said that Africa was a country. And so we're doing our best to get that kind of news out there. I very gleefully called roll call when I heard that when I was sitting in a hearing with her. She had a feeling moment. It takes a while for these levers of democracy of our republic to work to actually get pulled and get new and good people into these roles. It takes some time.
I just wanted to say something quickly about sort of the notion of Obama and what some people are calling a disparity between his saying no to legalization versus saying yes to medical marijuana. And it's a point that we're hearing a lot within drug policy reform and from casual observers, oh fuck, Obama said no to us, oh no, what are we going to do? But, the reality of it is, first of all, it's amazing to have the president on TV at a press conference responding to his marijuana legalization. None of us have ever seen that happen in our lifetime. It was an issue that Jimmy Carter was looking at seriously back at a time when, 20-some% of Americans wanted to legalize marijuana. Our numbers have practically doubled. And as a result, directly as a result of the force that we applied, we made the president talk about this. And he said no. But he didn't say one of several dozen ridiculous anti-pot propaganda talking points that we've been hearing forever, since we were children.
And how easy would that have been?
He didn't pull the trigger with any of that stuff. Right. And so we have a guy who's maybe afraid to give us what we want, but he is equally afraid of pissing us off any more than he possibly has to within sort of the parameters of what he thinks he can get away politically. And, the best example of that is if you go over to the Drug Czar's website, they deleted everything John Walters ever did. It's all gone. Everything, the links on my blog are dead. You go in there and you look up Drug Czar, everything I ever wrote, everything they did, the one after another stupid thing that they came up with over there has been removed. You can't find it. It's incredible. And Obama's administration did that.
And that is why, because he doesn't feel he can give us what we want on legalization. That is why we're getting what we want on medical. Basically. So that's the short answer. He needs to do something to appease these millions of people who have voted for him and who are really excited about him, but who feel insulted by his comments. And I don't think he meant to do that at all. I think he was just trying to be funny, and I think that it was not calculated. Now, if this was Bush, we said, oh, this is Karl Rove telling him to say this or that, or whatever. Probably may have been something to that. In this case, it was just that was organic. That just happened, and the fact that they chose to respond to that question, they felt they had to respond to the question. They could not, because it was a tough question. That they could have said, anyone, how easy would it have been for Gibbs to go, to go, oh, marijuana will give you lung cancer. You know, at that press conference, they're grilling us, you know, Robert, what is the reason for this? And they're grilling him. I mean, that is not a position the press secretary of the White House wants to be in. Their job is to have answers. And so on such a simple thing like this, where it's such a big deal, so many people have voted on it, you know, Robert Gibbs isn't going, well, it gives you cancer, or it makes your testicles smaller, or whatever it is. It's all of a sudden, he just doesn't say anything at all. That is really, really substantial. And you know why that is? There's only one reason. It's because somebody told him not to say all those things. Somebody affirmatively said, don't say any stupid shit about marijuana like Bush used to. Seriously, because
Obama wants to say that stuff.
that's where it's coming from. I think Obama says, we're not going to lie about this anymore. We're going to be honest about this. And he's walking a tightrope. So, anyway, it's a pleasure talking to you all.